It is Sunday, August 6th, 2023, and went to church this morning. It was good. Uh, the normal pastor is out of town, so uh, they had a older retired pastor do the service today, so that was good. Uh, it's kind of cloudy and dark today. There were some sprinkles when I was driving around town. I don't think it did any more than that, but I don't know for sure. I had to open up my curtains just a little bit to get some more light in here. Uh, it's the second day of board games for board game weekend. Um, so after church was over, I went and stopped by because they're doing it at somebody else's house in town. So I stopped by and because I was promised that I would get uh, I would get love from a puppy, and the puppy was very hyperactive, as puppies tend to be, and I do happen. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see some scratches on my arms, but it's okay. It's not bad. The puppy got very excited. And I also kind of wanted to see the board game that they were playing because I heard that it was a pain to set up and it looks like it has a lot of pieces. And the pieces come in and out of the boxes all the time. So, yeah, sounds like fun. So I hung out there for a little bit. My cough has kind of changed. It's kind of weird. Um, Instead of just being like a thing that's slowly building up until I need to cough or I'm going to drown, it's kind of just a thing where sometimes it catches when I breathe in and I have to cough. So, I don't know, maybe I just need to drink more water. The coffee that they have at the church was so hot. I mean, like, I don't know how you're supposed to drink that stuff. My tongue's kind of burnt. I got some food from Panda Express after church and after visiting. It was good. Uh, So, I thought the fortune and the fortune cookie was kind of interesting. So, first of all, I want to make it clear that I don't believe that fortune cookies have any effect on your life beyond normal placebo and or psychological effects. so, but it was kind of funny because the one that I got today was your keen sense of humor will make you many friends. So, if I do ever upload this, half of the people watching are probably thinking, what sense of humor? And the other half of the people are probably thinking, what friends? So, I thought that was pretty funny. Uh, I don't know. Social interactions are kind of an interesting thing. I've had a lot of time to think about them because I spend a lot of time alone. So, uh, it's interesting. Yeah. So, I don't know. Everybody deals with social situations differently. Um, I think for a while I probably had the thought of, what do I get out of this situation, or what can I get out of the situation? And unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of people think. Um, that turns pretty much every social situation into a competitive thing, which is not really that's not. I mean, is that the point? Is that what you want out of your relationships with people? Is competitiveness and trying to gain an advantage? I don't know. I think oftentimes people try to squeeze too much out of things when really I like optimizing things. That's kind of a thing. I don't know if it's like a thing with engineering. I mean, it is part. is part of that. Um, a good engineer will try to optimize things to a certain point. The most optimal way to make things as an engineer is to if you're completely focused on the function of something, uh, the easiest way to optimize something is to take out all the safety features. So that's why you have to deal with codes of ethics all the time that tell you that the first priority is the safety of you, the user, and the public. Um, so if if you let yourself have suboptimal, no, that's not true. Uh, a relationship it isn't or shouldn't be marked by how much you get out of it. A relationship should be about how you can grow, if that makes sense. And that doesn't mean that, if somebody gives you a piece of advice, you have to take it. Um, that's generally a bad idea. There are a lot of people who don't really give you the best advice. But when I look, I mean, I've said this before, but I can learn something from anyone. At least I believe I can. Uh, I think anyone can learn something from anyone else that they come into contact with. At the very least, if you're open to listen to them, then you can know what they think. Even if they're giving you advice and you think it's terrible, you still know, I mean, presumably, maybe you don't know what they think. Maybe they're all lying to you. But then, I mean, if you assume that people are lying to you, then that kind of defeats one of the basic premises for having a conversation with someone anyway. Um, I tend to believe that people are at least telling me what they think. Or, you know, they're not telling me the opposite of what they think. Which, maybe is naive. But, yeah. I had a train of thought a second ago, and then I took a left when I meant to keep going straight. Can I figure out? Can I go backwards until to that junction again and take the other turn? Uh, yeah, at the very least, you can figure out what people think. If someone tells you some piece of advice that you're definitely not going to take because it's against your morals or because, you know, for various other reasons. Maybe your own experience has told you that it's not a good idea, or somebody else has told you that. You can at least know what they think, and that's very useful for, uh, having future conversations or learning things from them. And it also can kind of inform you as to whether you are likely to take their advice in the future. Uh, but yeah. If you only keep relationships around that benefit you, then you might be missing out on a lot. Because you can benefit from any relationship. It might just not be in the way that you expect. Thinking of when I was younger and volunteering for Meals on Wheels once a week. Uh, what did I get out of delivering meals to people that were homebound? You know, what do I get out of volunteering? Well, if you just listen to people talk, then you get a lot out of it. Learning a lot about what life was like in the not so distant past, or, you know, um, listening to stories of people who really care about somebody else, or, and not every, some people embellish their stories, and you figure that out after a while, and then you apply that knowledge to future conversations. And sometimes people tell you the same conversation again. a lot of times. So what you can learn from that is that sometimes you can redirect people. Uh, if you've heard, it's kind of like interacting with a chatbot online. If you start down the same path again, but you want to get yourself to a different destination, then maybe you're in charge of taking a different path. You're in charge of setting that train of thought on the leftward path, which can be useful for situations when you have to deal with people who are older, which will happen in your life unless you are the one who leaves their lives before they do. But it's an interesting perspective to be the youngest on, the youngest grandchild, because you get to see everybody else. You while while you don't while you are protected from making decisions, you get to see everybody else make decisions, and that's a perspective that not everybody gets to have. You also get to ask a lot of questions. uh, so the idea with this being a video journal, I've wanted to make a video journal for a long time. I wanted to make a journal for a long time. I started a journal once or twice as a kid, but I never really got into it. I don't know. Most of my journals turned into me pretending. I wrote one journal where where the idea was I was sending letters to my imaginary friend, and so then I would write a letter out and sign, put the date on it, put dear whoever. I think it was T.J. Smith. T.J. Smith was a character that I made. His name was Tom John Smith. That is a very generic name, and I don't remember if that was intentional or not. I think I just liked the idea of somebody abbreviating their name because my best friend growing up also had an abbreviated name. I always could. Okay, well, I was about to say my initials, which would then cause me to have to do that thing on this too, so I'll just stop there with that sentence. But yeah, so I would write a letter to T.J. Smith, and then he would write me one back. And I think I just completely made up at whatever he was writing back. I don't think it was like, I was writing the one journal based on my one experiences. My one experiences? Yeah, I think that works. My one perspective might be the better word there. Uh, and then so I think I just made up everything that he said, but what I wrote to him was like what was going on. And I did that for a little bit, but then it was like this arts and crafts thing, which was like an accordion book, but it wasn't really. It was I think it was supposed to be a journal, and it had like the cover pages, and it was all like, flip flop, pleated folds, so you could write in it on like separate pages, and then you had a little thing on it, uh, string, so that you could tie it. So I think it was supposed to be a journal, and then it had like, a design on it from like a stamp that you put into paint, but you designed the stamp yourself by cutting up a piece of foam. Actually, that was a really good project. I don't remember making it at all, but that was a good that was a good art project. For me being as young as I was then. I think that might have been when I was 6. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. Was I writing at 6? Do you write when you're 6 in first grade? I don't know. It's a good question. I think I put the dates on there though, so I could look back at it if I had it here, which I don't. But yeah, I mean, it was limited on the amount of paper you had in there, so I think I just ran out. I've always been into pretending. I really have. And when when you get older, you swap the word pretending for improv, and it's more acceptable. But the pretending I have isn't pretending of emotions. At least not anymore. It might have been. It's more pretending of fact. You know, what's the history? How does this work? Does this make sense? But lately, I think I've done better. I mean, it's defined better once again. You know, but I don't know. That's something I'm noticing playing The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know if it's just with since I'm streaming it and recording it. I don't know if I'm just in like a different headspace with that. Like since I'm talking about it all the time. Like when you talk about things, sometimes it becomes real. You know. Like there's so much more processing that goes into your talking than into your thinking. It's true. It just completely is. When you have to translate your ideas into English, you need to know what your ideas are. When your ideas are floating around in your brain, you don't have to define them. And that's something that, you know, you learn in, well, first of all, I mean, with the tutoring that I've done, I have learned probably as much from tutoring as the people I've tutored have. Maybe. Maybe I've learned more. I don't know. I hope the people I've tutored have gotten something out of it. Well, I mean, that goes back to what we were talking about before. My relationship that I have with my tuties, you know, if I was being purely pragmatic and just being like, oh, well, I get money out of doing this, I don't know if I'd do it. Like, you know, the money that you get isn't that much, but it's nice. I mean, it's well, would I tutor? Well, yeah, I would tutor if I didn't get paid for it. Cuz I help my classmates out like all the time. And if it was all about me getting stuff out of it, then, you know, I would have missed out on all the learning that I've done by showing others, you know? When you're tutoring, you have to get into somebody else's brain and see things how they do. Or at least you really have to try. Sometimes that's really hard because you don't know what they know, and often they don't know what they don't know. I was very fortunate that most of the time people had very clear ideas of, you know, I don't know how to solve this problem. Can you help me with that? And it's like, okay, good. I can do that. Talk me through the problem from the beginning. And when you start going off track, then I can ask more questions. You know, sometimes, sometimes they, you know, sometimes they didn't need much at all. Sometimes it was just like, well, you know, the definition doesn't exactly say that. What does it say? Can you look that up in the book and say what does the definition say? And they're like, oh, so that doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, you might need to find a different way to do that one, you know? And then they're like, oh, well, what about this then? It's like, yeah, good. Yeah, that's great. You're doing great. That's exactly, yeah. So, I mean, you know, what do I get out of it? I get the satisfaction of a job well done. And I learned a lot about it. And hopefully I helped him out, you know? uh, There are some people who didn't want me to graduate because they wanted me at school for another semester or two. And that's really great to hear. I mean, you don't ever want to hear someone say, I don't want to, I want you to fail. But that's not what that was. It was you do a good job. And people don't tell each other that enough, I don't think. But anyway, yeah, this is another 20-minute long one. I need to remember to keep being a professor on my list of goals. Because it's not, I mean, I try to be, I was talking about pragmatism and being pragmatic about things. I have no problem optimizing my personal life and my plans and my goals, like, but not at the expense of other people. Relationships are separate from my own personal goals to some extent. I try to keep focused on my goals and try to achieve them. And I've done a lot of them so far. Like, I was talking with my sister maybe a couple years back, where I was like, I'm really blessed. Because, like, I've been able to do pretty much everything that I've wanted to do. And it's not been easy. I mean, I work hard at stuff. I wish I could work harder at work. I don't know. It'll come. It'll happen someday. But yeah. Even goals that I've given up on. Like I think I talked about my goal of making YouTube videos. Like I completely gave up on that. And then I do it now. They're not any good, but at least they're there, It makes me feel better about playing, spending time playing video games, that I'm making something for someone else. But I also really just I enjoy, at first I didn't get the idea of just do it because you like it, It's like, how could anybody like actually recording these? Because isn't the idea that, you post them and then you get a lot of views? But no. I like making videos. I like talking to myself while I'm playing games. It's fun. Don't ask me why it's fun. So you get sucked further into the game, Like I was saying, when you talk about things, it makes them more real, When you think about your thought process as someone in the game, maybe you're like, oh yeah, Link probably would do that, maybe, why is Zelda doing that? And it's like, oh, okay. But then when you're like, well, hang on a second. So Link did this, which probably means that he was, thinking like that. And, when you talk things through, it makes them more real. And, I've been more emotional while playing this game than most other Zelda games, I guess. Part of it is probably because it's so new and I haven't, seen any of the story or anything before, so everything is nice and new and surprising. But part of it's also, I don't know. I think part of it is that I'm just allowing myself to have feelings. Yeah. And here's the point where I have to decide if this is too personal to post on YouTube. But this is supposed to be a video journal, and you are supposed to be allowed to be personal in here. I told my mom about that I was, recording a video journal the other day, and she was like, well, if you post that, you don't want to post things that are too personal. And it's like, I don't even know what that means. Do I have a personality? Am I a person? But yeah, that's also kind of made me think about what the point of this is. Which is something that I have to think about, and I'll be able to put into words at some point. But then it'll be real. So for now, I think I just might let that sit in my brain. I'll probably be live streaming after this. Probably. Because why not? It's Sunday. I don't have anything else to do. Work is tomorrow. I I go to the DMV tomorrow. I do a training thing tomorrow at work for like the whole morning, which I should probably take notes on that, because I don't want to sit there and listen to it all and then forget it all. So I should probably take notes on that. Anything else? I don't think so. Yeah. I think that's it.